Rav Shagar, one of the former Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Hakotel between Rav Lon and Rav Hadari, suggested in one of his sichos on Parshat Shemot that an integral part of Moshe's upbringing was the fact that he was raised in Paro's palace. He points to this to explain something that's very interesting with Moshe, is that he seems to have a lot of freedom with the way he approaches, I guess, the situations that he's met with, as opposed to the rest of the Jews who kind of just take it in stride and understand that this is the way life is and you can't do anything about it. The main two episodes that he points to is Moshe confronting the Mitzri who's beating the other Jew and then killing him, based on the fact that this is Hamas, this is injustice, and I'm not going to stand for it. And a similar story with the Benos Midian, when they're being abused by the other shepherds, the fact that he stands up for them, he walks in, some foreigner who just came into the picture and says, this isn't okay, I'm not going to let this happen, and exerted his will and stopped that. Rav Shagar says the fact that Moshe grew up in Paro's palace instead of instead of one of the Jewish homes living as a slave, built Moshe's personality as somebody who was used to the freedom that comes along with being part of royalty, and therefore to get mixed together with this Jewish sense of right and wrong, mixing that with the sense of freedom that came on based on the fact that he was part of the royal family, came together to make Moshe who he was, this person who was able to stand up and make his protest known in the sense of righteousness. So surprising as it may be, Moshe needed to grow up in the palace in order to build that part of his personality. This pshat he quotes from the Even Ezra. What's very interesting is later on, a few parshas from now, Rav Horn likes quoting the Even Ezra also about the slave mentality, the fact that the Jews throughout the Dor HaMidbar, throughout the Midbar, from where we are now, throughout the next, 40 years, they are afflicted and they're hindered by the slave mentality, the fact that they grew up as slaves and they haven't gotten out of that mindset yet. So this is kind of like a parallel to that, the royal mentality, and this is what helps Moshe become who he really is. So what we see from here is a strong influence of environment. The Rambam in Hilchos Deos makes this point also, and he says that it's so important, the influence that your environment has on you is such a strong factor in how you're going to respond to situations, is that he recommends running away and living in the forest, living in the middle of the desert, rather than put yourself in a negative environment. So for me, I'm lucky enough to be able to come back to Yeshiva after my first semester in university. So to come back to Yeshiva, to come back to the Yeshiva environment, to get back into the Ben Yeshiva mindset, together with all my friends, and to be back in the back and forth of Yeshiva, is really it's a strong infusion of the Ben Yeshiva-ness that I've been missing. It's a wonderful thing. I guess I should thank my parents for allowing me to do that, and everybody else who's come along together with us to put ourselves back into this environment of Yeshiva, of what we had, however many years we had, to experience that and to build that into our personalities. To have that, re-infusion, to bring that back into ourselves is a wonderful thing, and I guess we can see it from the Parshat, the power of your environment in building who you are. Have a great Shabbos.